Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today I have the pleasure of working on a beautiful reel. This is the Daiwa Sealine 30H. It was the first line of the Sealine models. They've come a long way, but this is one of the earlier ones from the 1980s. This one appears as though it's never been used. I don't see any scratches on the side plates. I see bright chrome metalwork. Clean spool with the spool tag still on. The owner had asked me to open it up and do a changeover for him. They had asked for replacement of the washers with Carbontex washers for the Daiwa reel. They intend to take this one fishing, and I don't feel badly about that at all. There's some people that believe that, well, you got a beautiful reel, you should display it. It's an old one, it's a museum piece, whatever. I believe reels were intended to fish, and well, that's kind of what this channel is all about. It's about giving reels a second chance, or maybe the first chance in this case, to show you how to service them, keep them fishing, repair them if necessary, and well, just enjoy the reel for what it was intended to be, a fishing reel. And of course, there are folks that enjoy this as a work of art, and I'm not going to discourage you from that, but I do encourage you to take the reels fishing. We're going to do a service of this. We'll show you how to take the reel apart because that's what's needed to do in order to replace the drag washers. You'll get an inside look at this, and well, you'll see the key maintenance points. We start by taking off the cap that holds the handle nut in place, and then underneath that there is an E-clip that holds everything to the post. So generally speaking, I will use a small screwdriver, try and get in that little ridge of the E-clip and push it out that way. That will remove the E-clip. Put the E-clip into the basket. This is a good place to tell you to start taking pictures. You take the pictures so that you know the orientation of the pieces and parts, how you took them off, how they go back together again. In this case, there's a washer that goes under that E-clip. And when I take my pieces and parts off, I put them into a parts tray. That's my strategy for maintaining the pieces and parts. You may have a different one. Whatever it is, make sure you know what you're going to do with your pieces and parts before you remove them. Don't lay them around the bench just to get knocked over and lost. I just used a little wrench here that belongs to, it says Terminal Team International, teamintl.com. It's got the 4 common metric sizes and works well on something like this. Found it at a flea market somewhere. I'm not even sure if they're still in business. Okay, handle comes off next. And actually, as we're taking this off, it kind of is a throwback in time as to how it was manufactured. And sometimes you say, if reels could talk, you'd like to hear the story. Why did it break? How did it come about to be in the condition it was? You wonder what kind of fish might have been. In this case, if the reel could talk, you wonder who put it together and what the story would be of the assembly of this reel, because it certainly hasn't gone fishing. All right, there's 3 pieces. You wonder if, who got it and why they never took it fishing. Always great stories if the reels could talk. All right, we're going to remove the 3 screws that hold the side plate in. Once you break the seal on it, they have those little knurled edges, so you can just kind of work it out by hand. And with those 3 out, you can pull the side plate off. There is a ring that just came out of here. It's a spacer ring for your drags. We can bring this off, and we can see what I generally tell folks. Over time, oils and greases will dry out, and that's one of the reasons why David, who owns this reel, kind of brought it to me. He asked me, can I clean it up, make sure that everything is good inside, and also because he's going to take it fishing, he thought maybe those drag washers would dry out over time. They're kind of a leather drag washer, and he asked me to replace those with the Carbontex. I got my Carbontex washers from smoothdrag.com. Should say on here somewhere. Well, it doesn't say on here, but that's where I got them. And we've just cleaned up the bearing. You can see a nice sharp point on your click or bait alarm there. We're going to just take our spool now, place that back in. There's a little bit of dried grease on this side, so let's wipe that off so that it spins freely. Okay, bring that back in. And while we have that spool here, we can take a little bit of fishing wheel grease and place it onto the spool shaft, because that will grease the inside of the pinion gear when we go to reinstall. Alright, here it is. This is your inside look at the gear plate. Notice that the one side that holds your anti-reverse dog does have a nut on that screw. It's a double lockdown for that so that the anti-reverse dog does not break free. And most of the time you can get that started by just grabbing it with the micro pliers or something, working it backwards. And again, just kind of take your time here. You can use hand strength to remove that nut. It's just a secondary lockdown nut. And then we can remove the four. Now notice on this, it's always interesting, the four bridge screws are, geez, 1/8 of an inch or so beyond the bridge. Don't get nervous if you're taking the reel apart and you're wondering why those are sticking through so much. It's just one of those things that happens. Let's see if I can get the right screwdriver for this. These were torqued down pretty good here. That's not the right one. Here we go. I knew we had the right one here somewhere. Always match your slot in your screwdriver to the slot in the screw. If you go too thin or narrow with that, you risk butterflying that, and then you'll never be able to get the screws in or out again. Right, there's 4 of these screws. If I recall, all of these screws are the same. We'll take them all off now. You always want to check that. There are manufacturers that use different screws. Penn is one of those. It uses a partially threaded screw like these for the upper bridge where the yoke springs go, and it uses a fully threaded screw below where the anti-reverse dog goes. Just pay attention to that. Alright, I can see by the bridge moving that all of the screws have been loose. I'm going to take that out, and now I'm going to just bring the plate off of it this way rather than pushing the other part through. And we'll take that screw out of the case here. And as you can see, it's clean. There's no evidence that it's been used, but there is evidence that the greases and oils have dried. So Daiwa was pretty good in asking me to go ahead and service this. All right, we're going to remove the anti-reverse dog and spring, the jack, the yoke, and the gear shaft. All right, we're going to clean up underneath. We're going to replace those drag washers. We're going to reassemble. I'm going to let this one go fishing. So if there's a joy in purchasing a new reel, there's certainly a joy in finding a reel that's new old stock, or just plain old new and collected but never used. It's the sort of position to be in. And David found this one. He was excited about it. I think he's going to use it for black fishing. Black fishing is tautog here in the Northeast. It's a nice fish that's available in the fall off of rocks and wrecks. Okay, cleaned that up. A little bit of grease onto our axle shaft. Oiled the bearing. Let's push this shaft through now. And let's see what we have underneath. Bring that on. And these are the old leather washers, so those leather washers are getting replaced by the Carbontex. We're going to push those through from the back side. Bring this one off, and you can see the residual greases that are there. We just need a little screwdriver to get this one out. The last one always sits in this ring. It seems to have dried into the ring. Yeah, so we have a little bit of evidence of it being dried there. So let's clean that out first. We'll use a penetrating oil that usually dissolves that type of stuff. Use a flat-bladed screwdriver, just kind of work the bulb off. Cotton swab to mop up the issue. And we're good to put a new washer in there. Let's take a look at the teeth on the main gear. We want to make sure those get cleaned as well. Again, with the greases dried, they're going to stick in the valleys of the teeth, and that's going to impact performance. We get a soft brush, pull through. You can see it's coming out. Penetrating oil helps to loosen that up. Let's see, we have a little bit here that's kind of caught on the outside. So much of this real service is about cleaning, inspecting, relubricating, getting it going again. If you identify that there's broken pieces and parts along the way, of course you're going to want to replace them. And with the 30H, well, it's getting harder and harder to find those parts due to the age of the reel. But in the case of drag washers, you can still find those. All right, that's in good condition. We're going to grab a grease brush, put fresh grease on there. The grease I use is Penn Precision Reel Grease. It's the blue grease here. And the brush is an artist's brush. I use an artist's brush because the hairs don't break free and get stuck when you're doing the lubrication. Okay, that's on. We're going to seat the main gear now. And then we can take a look at the washers that we've got and what needs to be replaced. They've given us a 4-washer set. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, one of these should be different. There it is. That's the base washer. That's different from the others. I got too busy putting that on. That belongs underneath. And then we have the 3 Carbontex washers. Carbontex washers can go on dry, or you can put a little bit of grease on it. That's what it says right here. Carbontex drag washers may be used dry or lightly greased. We're going to just put them in dry. That's the way I tend to run them. And we alternate. There's 2 keyed washers. Those washers have rectangular centers in it. They hold the post when pressed down. There's 1 eared washer that has points. Those hold the outside main gear. When you compress them all, both are held, and that's how you lock down the assembly. First of the keyed washers goes on. Push it in all the way. Bring the second washer up. I'm going to bring that on now. That's set in place. 1 more washer. Yep. Seems like that last washer may not be seated all the way. So let's make it a point to do that. Just looking for something flat that's not going to injure the drag washer there. Okay, now we can put that other one in. Top washer. Top keyed washer. So that is our drag stack. These are the originals. I'm going to give those back to David in case he ever wants to do something with them. We still have cleanup left. We have the original grease on the yoke we want to clean off, and because it hasn't been used, generally you can just wipe that off. Have some cleanup on the pinion gear here. Same idea. The old grease is dried in the teeth, so we'll do the same thing we did with the main gear here. And while I'm doing that, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel, leave them in the comments section. I will try to answer those questions for you. Got a lot of interesting questions lately. I've actually been starting a little video that I try to post every now and then with questions that apply to more than just one individual, and try to answer it and provide that to the general community. And I hope you, if you've watched those episodes, I hope you enjoy them. Speaking of enjoying, if you're enjoying this one, I'd like you to hit that like button. Okay, we've re-greased. I'm going to clean our jack, and then we'll show you how this goes back together. And well, get it going again. All right. A little bit of grease onto the eccentric, a little bit of grease into the spool adjuster in the back, and we're ready to start that reassembly. We want to take the two yoke springs, they fit in the cavities, and we want to mount the yoke. This is a free-flowing one now. It's not an easy one to set, but just be forewarned. There is a slot in the pinion gear that faces towards you as you go to install. Push down. Then this one just kind of slides over. You need to make sure it stays on the eccentric and that this little stud here is in that valley, kind of like the pen wheel. We want to take our assembly, bring that in, and then match it so that your burring is in place. And then there's some studs to align the bridge, just like that. The one that I like to put in first is the one with the anti-reverse dog. That takes a little manipulation, so bring that in. The little hook on that dog goes up, or faces up like that, and it's probably in the down position there. But let's bring that in, hold pressure on the screw, and then you want to use your pliers or something to center the hole in that dog. Like that. And then just a turn or two with this just to get it started. Once you see it start coming through, we can turn this over and we can put the other screws in. I like to alternate the screws on these, like to go from the bottom to the top, to the bottom to the top, opposite sides. And I'm not tightening these down all the way until I get all of these set. So this is pretty much a straight up replacement of drag washers, but it is a way to improve the performance. The old ones were leather. The old leather ones dry out, they crack, and then they fall apart. And of course that's going to impair the performance of the reel. The new ones, the Carbontex, don't do that. Much stronger material, and the weave in it keeps them together. Okay. That's that side. And I want to come back to the one that's holding the dog. Set that spring. So the spring is going to connect on the back end of that bridge. Like that. And then you just want to hook it over and into that beak on the AR dog. Pretty straightforward. And now if you turn it, you'll have your anti-reverse dog functioning. Okay, back to the last piece that belongs on there, and that's the lockdown nut for the screw that holds the anti-reverse dog. Again, bring that on by hand. That way you're sure that you're seating it properly. Turn this side to make sure that it's all the way through the bridge. Bring it back on this side, and then you can use a pliers or a very small wrench to make sure that it's tight. The only part I was not able to grease is the top of that jack. I'll do that now. All right, let's load this back on. Make sure that the seam on this is all nice and tight. And again, because you can turn these screws by hand, go ahead and do that. And then the final tightening to be the last half turn. That way you know you're not over torquing the screws. What a beautiful reel. Okay, we'll just set up the remainder here. We had our sleeve next. That's the spacer sleeve for your gears. Then you have two tension washers. They're bowed. The first bow I face up. The second one down. We have our star adjuster. Hold your spool, it makes it easier to do this. We have the next up is the little tension spring between the handle and the star adjuster. That prevents you from backing it all the way up and locking it in. We can put our nut on next. Go for my multi-tool here. And then we have our lock for the post. So pretty much going in the reverse order that we did to take everything apart. Get that piece in. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this by hand. Probably not. It was a little difficult coming off. We'll grab it here. As you can tell, I use this little pliers an awful lot. And that's setting the E-clip. And usually if this point on the nut is pointing towards that, you should be able to get it. With that aligned, just tighten that down. Last thing to do would be just a simple squirt of oil into the oiler here. And we're ready for the test. So what did we do? We showed you how to take the reel apart completely, cleaned up the bearing and oiled it on this side. Didn't have to clean the reel, there's no dirt in the reel, but there was a lot of dried grease and debris. Cleared that out, showed you how to take the bridge apart, how to remove all the pieces and parts, how to inspect them, clean them, put them back together again, and how to install the upgrades, the Carbontex fiber drag washers, replacing the original leathers. Well, there you go. Let's put it in the gear. Now we have that spool adjuster over here. If you like, you can tighten or you can loosen. Get it to spin nicely. And we'll put it into the retrieve mode. Nice overall. And make sure that our drags are tight and holding. Okay, there you go. That's it. That's how you take apart, service, and upgrade the drag washers on a Daiwa 30H, one of the originals. Beautiful reel. I hope you've enjoyed that. Again, if you like this video, please like it. Before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. I want to thank you, the viewer, for watching. I want to encourage you again to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. If you've been watching, you'll enjoy it, and you'll continue to get notified as to when those videos are getting posted. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day.